Now, he talks about the pressures on the NHS, and we acknowledge that there are pressures on the National Health Service. There are always extra pressures on the NHS during the winter, but of course we have at the moment those added pressures of the ageing population and the growing complex needs of the population. He also refers to the British Red Cross's term of a humanitarian crisis. I have to say to him that I think we've all seen humanitarian crises around the world, and to use that description of a National Health Service which last year saw 2.5 million more people treated in accident and emergency than 6 years ago, was irresponsible and overblown.
Mr. Speaker, 1.8 million people had to wait longer than 4 hours last year in A&E departments. Now, the Prime Minister might not like what the Red Cross said, but on the same day, the British Medical Association said conditions in hospitals across the country are reaching a dangerous level. The Royal College of Nursing has said NHS conditions the worst ever. Royal College of Physicians has told the Prime Minister the NHS is underfunded, underdoctored and overstretched. If she won't listen to the Red Cross, who will she listen to?
I've said to the right honourable gentleman that I of course acknowledge that there are pressures on the National Health Service. The government has put extra funding into the National Health Service. The fact that we are seeing more people being treated in our NHS, 2,500 more people are treated within 4 hours every day in the National Health Service. That's because of the government putting in extra funding and of the hard work of medical professionals in our National Health Service. But I also say to him it's not just a question of targets in relation to the health service, and we continue to have a commitment, as the Health Secretary has made clear, to the 4-hour target. It is a question of making sure that people are provided with the appropriate care for them and the best possible care for them in their circumstances.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, she seems to be in some degree of denial about this and won't listen to professional organisations who've spent their whole lifetime doing their best for the NHS. But can I ask her if she'll listen to Sian, who works for the NHS? She has a 22-month-old nephew. He went into hospital. There was no bed. He was treated on 2 plastic chairs pushed together with a blanket. And she says one of the nurses told her sister, "It's always like this nowadays," and she asked a question to all of us. Surely we should strive to do better than this. Does the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary think this is an acceptable way of treating a 22-month-old child needing help?
I accept there have been a small number of incidents where unacceptable practices have taken place. But what matters, we don't want those things to happen. What matters is how you then deal with them. And that's why it's so important that the NHS does look into issues where there are unacceptable incidents that have taken place and then learns lessons from them. But I come back to the point that I was making earlier. He talks about the hard-working healthcare professionals like Sian in the National Health Service, and indeed we should be grateful for the work, all those who are working in the NHS. Over the Christmas period, in the Tuesday after Christmas, we saw the busiest day ever in the National Health Service. And over the few weeks around Christmas, we saw the day when more people were treated in accident and emergency within 4 hours than had ever happened before. This is the reality of our National Health Service.
Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, we all thank the NHS staff and we all praise the NHS staff. But her government is proposing, through sustainability and transformation, to cut 1/3 of the beds in all of our hospitals in the very near future. And on Monday she spoke about mental health and doing more to help people, particularly young people, with those conditions. And I welcome that, except that last night the BBC revealed that over 5 years there had been an 89% increase in young people with mental health issues having to go to A&E departments. So doesn't she agree that the £1.25 billion committed to child and adolescent mental health in 2015 should have been ring-fenced rather than used as a resource to be raided to plug other holes in other budgets within the NHS?